Hello students, in my last video we have studied about the environment. That is, we have studied what is environment. We studied the definition of environment and then we finished the scope of the environment. Today, let us start with the principles of environment. Principles are nothing but the basic features on which the environment is working on, or you can say what is governing the environment. So, let us see what are the principles of environment. Herein, let us take a quick revision of whatever we have studied into my last video. We have studied the definition of environment. So, what is environment? Environment is the surroundings or the conditions in which a person, animal, or plant lives or operate. So, wherever we are living, our surrounding conditions is nothing but the environment. So, we can say that environment is the sum total of all surroundings of a living organism. So, this will be including natural forces and other living things which provide conditions for development and growth. The mobility of the environment is going to be governed by some principles. So, which are going to be those principles which will be governing the environment? Let us study that today. So, talking about the principles of environment, let us study these 10 principles of environment. First principle of environment is dependence and mutualism, dependence and mutual influence. Then principle of balance, principle of unity, principle of diversity, principle of active tendency, principle of continuous production, principle of adaptation, principle of energy flow, growth, and behavior. So, now let us take each one of these principles and just see a brief introduction of what these principles are trying to tell us. First one is the principle of dependence and mutual influence. So, what is this principle? So, according to this principle, every component depend on other. So, there is going to be always a mutual relationship in the environment. This mutual relationship that is going to be present is now known as interaction. Interaction is going to be nothing but something like is which is mutually connected to each other. For example, amount of rainfall and growth of trees in an area. If the rainfall is going to be more, automatically what is happening? The growth of trees is going to be also more. If the rainfall is going to be less, automatically the growth of trees is also going to be less. So, in this manner, we can see that the rainfall and the growth of the trees in an area are going to be in a mutual relationship. So, this is going to be nothing but principle of dependence and mutual influence. They are not only depending on each other, but also they are mutually influencing each other. More rainfall, more trees, all the more rainfall. So, all both of them will be connected. So, that is going to be the first principle of environment. Now, coming to the next part here. Next is the principle of balance. So what is this principle of balance? Due to the interaction among the components, the environment remains more or less stable. So because there is going to be an interdependence, like we have seen, we can see that because of this interdependence, our environment is maintaining a balance. It is more or less stable. So, the ability of nature to stabilize itself is known as ecological balance. So, this is going to be nothing but how the environment manages and balances to stay into a stable condition. So, that is nothing but ecological balance. This balance regulated through food chains and food webs. For example, the excess carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is converted into carbon by a shell bearing organism of the sea. So, what is this food chain and food web? We will be studying in detail into your further classes. But here understand that we are depending on others for food, and those others are again depending on someone else for the food. So, that is nothing but the food chain. So, because of this food chain, because of this interdependence, ecological balance is maintained. For example, if the surrounding or if the environment contains more of carbon dioxide, it is going to be converted into carbon by the shell bearing organisms of the sea. So that is principle of balance. Then the third is going to be principle of unity or oneness, what we call. So according to a writer named Saint Francis Assisi, we are all creatures of one family. What this sentence says? This sentence clearly tells us that whether it is a bacteria or whether it is going to be a larger elephant like a larger animal like a elephant, or human beings or any other organism, the basic structural and functional unit is the cell. We are all made up of small components known as cells, which are the structural and functional units. So we can see whether it is the plants or the animals. The type of the cell can be different, somewhat modifications can be there, but ultimately we are all made up of the basic units known as cells, and which are going to be having the same chemical buildup. Substance produced by one organism are usually digested and assimilated by others. So, because of this feature only, that is, we are all made up of the same chemical buildup and functional units known as cells, we are able to digest each other. That is, we can eat other organisms can eat us, digest us. That is because we are all creatures of one family. For example, here, suppose we are taking the plastic or the glass, we cannot digest it into our stomach. That is because these substances are artificially produced by man. So they cannot be accepted or recycled by other organisms. We cannot eat the plastic or glass because they are not going to be made up of cells. They are not belonging to our family, you can say, except for as said by the Saint Francis Assisi. Then, going to the next principle, fourth principle, it is the principle of diversity. It is composed of different elements. Though I am saying that we are of a single family, that doesn't mean that we are all going to be the Xerox copies of each other. There are different organisms present into the surroundings. There is a large amount of diversity. The inclusion of different types of people can be taken as an example. In the human beings only, we can see that the people are of different cultures. Otherwise, we can talk even about the organisms which are going to be differing in the terms of their morphological. Morphological is nothing but external appearance, or anatomical. Anatomical is nothing but the internal organs, and physiological characteristics. Physiological is nothing but the metabolic processes taking place into our body. If you are taking an example over here, suppose I am going to be having two eyes, one nose, one mouth, two ears. These are my morphological characters. But this may not be same for a plant. Plants don't have eyes or mouth or ear. They are morphologically different. Suppose I am going to be talking about anatomical. I am having a heart, a stomach, a large intestine, small intestine. Plants may not have that. Physiological. Suppose I am going to be eating food, it is digested by my digestive system by a process known as digestion, which is a physiological characteristics. But this digestion is not there in the plants. In the plants, it is taking place by simple diffusion. So, by this manner, we are going to be of different types. A variety is present or a diversity is present in the environment. And this diversity only gives stability to the environment. For example, removal of one type of trees may not be adversely affecting the ecological balance, because if suppose all were same, then if one was removed, all of them were killed. But that is not happening. To maintain the ecological balance, diversity is essential, and that is being provided by the environment. The fifth one is principle of active tendency, resistive nature, what we call. So organisms can develop resistance against man-made substances, which is termed as active tendency or resistive tendency of organisms. So, what is happening whenever we are going to be introducing something into the environment? Human beings cannot keep quiet. So, they are now and then introducing many artificial substances into the environment. These are toxic, or it may be unknown substances, alien substances to the environment. So, because of this unknown, because of these man made substances, organisms have started to live with that type of environment or with that type of a substance with a more harsh behavior. I have an example over here. In the olden days, whenever there was going to be a municipality or corporation drive against the mosquitoes, the corporation people could come and spray DDT powders all over your house surroundings or in the gutters so that the mosquito larvae were getting killed. But today, suppose I catch a mosquito, live mosquito, put DDT in its mouth also, that mosquito will not die, because now the mosquito has learned to remove out that DDT or to become strong against that DDT, resistant to that DDT. So this can be taken as an example how the organisms are developing themselves to become resistant for developing the resistive nature. So this is known as principle of active tendency. Then, coming to the sixth one, that is principle of continuous production. We can obtain various useful products from animals and plants. Population of these organisms continually change. Nature has its own checks and balances to keep most population within rather narrow limits. An understanding of this helps in judicious management of natural resources. The environment has having its own way to balance it. So whichever useful products are going to be there from the plants, that is being derived, and it is helping in the sustenance of the other organisms. Which organism should grow more, which organism has to grow less, is decided only by the environment, they say. And according to this, we can see that the environment is going to be continuously undergoing a change. It is continuous production is going to be taking place. Then seventh principle is the principle of adaptation. So what is adaptation? Adaptation is going to be nothing but any change into the organism to adapt to the situation or the surrounding is known as adaptation. The organism learns to survive into the surrounding changes, that is the adaptation. For example, you can take the camel. Camel is having long eyelashes, long slender legs. Why? To walk easily in the sand and to see through the sandy, windy breeze. So, that is the adaptation that the camel has done in itself to adjust to the sandy areas, that is into the desert area. So, in this manner, many organisms have adapted themselves certain traits. So, adaptation is also called an adaptive trait. So, it is a trait. Trait is nothing but a character with a current functional role. So, right now, for the survival, that is important. So, it is going to be making that change, because of which in the life history of the organism, that is maintained and evolved by means of natural selection. So if it is necessary in the future, if that adaptation is going to be making that organism strong and fit to survive in that environment, then that adaptation is maintained. If that adaptation is making the organism weak, then it is thrown out of the nature. So that is only nothing but theory of natural selection given by Charles Darwin, a well-known ecologist. We will study about that in detail, but right now let us finish these principles. So herein principle of energy flow, also called the calorific flow. Simple logic, energy is never going to be created nor destroyed. It can be only transformed from one form of energy to the next. This is the first law of thermodynamics. You all must have studied into the lower classes. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So, how the energy is utilized? Because it is utilized only by the change in the form. There are different types of energies: kinetic energy, potential energy, heat energy, light energy. So, this is going to be getting transformed from one form to another, and it is flowing from one tropic level to another. For example, plants. Plants are getting energy from the sun. They are developing it, preparing food for itself, and only some part of it is going to be given to the herbivorous animals like goats. Goats are eating the plants, taking the energy. Human beings are eating the goats. Now, from their energy is coming to the human beings. Suppose there is a tiger, tiger will come and eat the human being now. So, the tiger is getting the energy from us. So, in this manner, what we are doing? We are going to be performing a flow of energy. Environment is going to be doing the flow of energy through the food chain. This is nothing but the food chain. So, in an ecosystem, ecologists seek to quantify the relative importance of different component species and feeding relationships. So, whatever I gave you the example now can be told here in the example down given below. So primary producers are nothing but plants. Secondary producers are one which are feeding on primary ones. Like I took the example of the goat. Goat is a secondary consumer. Human beings the tertiary, and then comes the decomposers. Decomposers are going to be nothing but the degraders, which is going to be an end of a food chain you can consider. So they are going to be degrading the dead and decaying matter. So this is going to be the principle of energy flow, wherein the energy is flowing through the environment through a food chain where the energy is getting continuously a flow. Then coming to the principle of growth, it refers to a positive change in size, often over a period of time. So, according to this, growth can occur as a stage of maturation or a process towards fullness or fulfillment. It can also be perpetually endless. Growth is going to be occurring. There is growth in organism, there is going to be growth in everything. Growth can sometimes be endless. For example, you can take a trees until and unless they are going to be getting the nutrition. Some trees are continuously growing, like example banyan tree you can take. It is having a long life. So that can be taken as an example. So there is continuous growth. Last principle is the principle of behavior. Every organism is having its own behavior, and behavior is nothing but is the range of actions, how we are acting and how we are going to be behaving. That is mannerism made by organism. So behavior is the range of actions and mannerisms made by organisms, systems, or artificial entities in conjunction with themselves or their environment. So there is going to be a way in which organisms are going to be interacting with other organisms or artificial entities or the surrounding environment. So that is going to be the principle of behavior. So these are going to be the 10 principles of behavior that we have studied, and they are going to be the principle of dependence and mutual influence, balance, unity, diversity, active tendency, continuous production, adaptation, energy flow, growth, and behavior. So, just let us summarize the point with a conclusion. So, here we can say by studying the principles of environment that nature knows best. All forms of life are important, and everything is connected to everything else. Everything changes, nothing is going to be stagnant or nothing is waiting, everything keeps on changing. Everything goes somewhere one day, and ours is a finite earth. Earth is not going to be immortal, or you cannot say that anyone on this earth is going to be living forever. Even the earth is not going to be living to forever. It is also going to be a finite. It is having a time when it will end. And nature is beautiful, and we are stewards of God's creation. Stewards of God's creation means nothing but we are going to be someone who is made to take care of the environment, and because of which only we are given the ability to think and behave, because we have to take care of this environment. And that is the reason why you are studying this subject, that is environmental science, into your syllabus. So this is all for today. Into my next class, let us study about the definition, scope and principle of ecology.